Hey y'all, it's Jordan or JorWish and welcome to or back to my channel. In today's video, I'm so excited to be bringing you all people from 8 different UCs and we're just going to be having a conversation. I got this idea from Dominique Cynthia. Her videos are amazing. She did a series kind of like this for Ivy Leagues and I was like, I think I could do this with the UCs and I think people would be really interested in hearing about it. Her editing is way better than mine. Her videos are top quality, so definitely check her out. And thanks, girl, if you're watching this, for inspiring this video. So yeah, we're just going to be talking to you all things UCs, getting into which campus has which and what, preferences, culture, party life, all that good stuff. So let's call in our students now and see what they all have to share with us. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And we're just going to start out with introductions. So if you could introduce yourself by saying your name, your hometown, major, and what school you go to. So we'll start with UC Berkeley.
Hi everyone, I'm Crystal. I am from Fairfield, California. It's about 35 minutes from Berkeley in San Francisco. I'm a rising sophomore studying sociology and business administration, and I go to UC Berkeley.
Hey everyone, my name is Noelle David. I'm from Valencia, California, right next to Six Flags. I'm currently a freshman at UC Davis, and my major is design, and I'm minoring in managerial economics.
What's good, everybody? I'm Kazim Salam, and I'm a second-year computer science major, and pretty much grew up in the IE.
Hey, everyone. My name is Nate Omaoje. I am a rising senior. I study neuroscience, and I also grew up in the IE, and I'm representing UCLA.
Hey, everyone. My name is Jackie, and I go to UC Merced. I'm from Union City, and my major is management and business economics.
Hi, my name is Gina Kim. I was a student in UCR, but I transferred to UC Irvine. I'm a second year and I'm a business major, and my hometown is Beverly Hills, California, so close to UCLA.
Hey guys, my name is Joseph No. I'm a third year at UCSD. I'm an economics major, and I'm actually born and raised in San Diego as well.
And next, last but not least, we have UC Santa Barbara.
Hi everyone, my name is Daniel. I'm from Fontana, so I'm also from the IE. I'm finishing up my first year as a film and media studies and a philosophy major at Ucsb.
So here we have it. We have a great panel of different people for you all, and we're just going to get into talking about everything you want to know about the UC schools. So first, how would you describe the social culture at your school? Is it like cliquey, or is everyone just friendly overall? How would you describe it, Berkeley?
Okay, so for Berkeley, I would describe the social culture to be intense, I would say, but like not necessarily in a bad way. I would say that like there's a lot of fun, there's a lot of studying, there's a lot of going out, there's a lot of just like anything that we do though, it's pretty much on like a intense level. It's not that chill, I would say. Like there are chill people and we have that idea of like being hippies or like being high all the time. But as I was like describing to someone another time, it's like we have fun and we go hard like a lot and we study hard a lot and stuff. And like we might be high, but like most of the time you can't tell. Like it's not like a chill high, it's like a productive high. But yeah.
Okay.
That is not saying that I get high. That's just like we as Berkeley, maybe not me, but
What about UC Davis? How's your culture?
So from my experience as a freshman, everyone is super friendly, and there aren't really like cliques like there are in high school. There are people of all different backgrounds, races, religions. Overall, the student body is super diverse, and everyone is accepting and supportive and willing to help one another out. So.
Same thing for me. I feel like UC Irvine is pretty friendly. Whatever you do, at least in my experience, I haven't had it where it was like super hard to make friends or anything. But I will say like where you really go ahead and like meet your group of people that you start to hang out with are definitely like people in your major, people in your classes. And then also if you decide to join clubs and get involved with that, that's where you're gonna really meet the people that you start to click with and blend with. I know for me, I joined NSB, which is National Society of Black Engineers. And that's where I met just some cool people and just started, becoming friends with them and just different stuff like that to really, have like that sort of friend bond, like as you go. So yeah, I would say it's pretty friendly.
UCLA has been pretty chill in my experience. Most people there are pretty friendly. It's like a lot of people are pretty approachable. It's something I found really like surprising. Like I didn't have a lot of like issues with people like, being like standoffish. In terms of being cliquey, I wouldn't say cliquey, but there are very much communities, like micro, like sub communities that make up like the school at large. And like, if you go within those communities, like you're gonna like just hang out with like those type of people. But like it's pretty easy to like go across communities. Like there's no one's really like, oh, like you don't belong with us, so we're not going to talk to you. But overall, UCLA is pretty chill.
UC Merced, I would say it's very diverse and it's very welcoming. I feel like since it's kind of a smaller campus, you get to make friends kind of easier, I would say. So it's very like, I would say it's kind of different from the other ones.
How is it different?
Different as in like it's smaller, so everything is kind of smushed together. And I know in different campuses, like there's like housing is in one side and then the classes are on a different side. But in Merced, it's kind of just all jumbled up together. So you see the same faces kind of often, but not too often where it's like, whoa, I just saw you yesterday.
What about the culture at UC Riverside?
So, well, for the culture aspect of it, I would say a majority of the people are very nice. Obviously, I don't like analyze the social structure for our school, so I don't really know specifically for all groups, but from the majority, when you look at it, like in big events that we have, like Block Party or like Spring Splash, if you see, you could just talk with anyone around you and they'll be really nice and you could just join in with them and be friends with them. I don't know if that's the people that I bumped into in those kind of occasions, but I thought that that's just the majority of UCR. We don't necessarily have cliques, I would say, but in a sense, we kind of do. Like, I would say, like, for my freshman year, when I dormed, all the people that were my closest friends were the people in my, like, hall. So I would say that would be my clique, I would say. But I mean, I feel like that's like that for all UCs just because they're, like, your first living dorm friends. Like UC Irvine said, once you make friends in, like, clubs and stuff like that or organizations within your college, that's where you start also making branches of friends too. UCR is known for a commuting school, so if you are a commuter, I know that a lot of them are scared that they can't make friends, so don't be scared. If you just join organizations, you'll be fine.
So everyone knows UCSD as like UC socially dead. I kind of got to disagree with that. It's not necessarily true. I will say it's not like so many parties, like, you're going to walk down and find a party everywhere. Definitely it's not like a traditional college experience in sense of like, there's not a lot of sports games. You don't got a football team. The Greek life doesn't even have houses on campus. They're like everywhere around, San Diego. But definitely like what I like about UCSD is like everyone there is really chill and friendly and like everyone's pretty like academically like ambitious and focused on school. But at the same time, everyone's like really friendly and chill to talk to. So like you can make friends in class, you can make friends in clubs, you join Greek life. There's just so many ways to make friends and everyone's like really chill and just like focused at school, but at the same time they're like willing to have a good time. So I wouldn't say it's like academically dead in the sense that like what you put in is like what you get out. So like you put in a lot of effort to like meeting a lot of people and doing a lot of things, then you're gonna have a good time and it's not gonna be socially dead.
Yeah, I feel like with most colleges, UCSB has a pretty like accepting and welcoming sort of group of students. We have like this catchphrase that I don't know if the students say it a lot. There's definitely like on a lot of stickers and banners and stuff. Our mascot's called the Gaucho, so we say we Gaucho back like a lot, or they say that to the students a lot. And we're pretty friendly, and I would describe it as a bit of a melting pot, both like culturally and also just ideologically, because UCSB attracts all sorts of different people because there's a little bit of everything for everyone here. We do have like our groups of people that are like a lot more like sort of hippie, stereotypically like chill and laid back, and we have like super workaholic type people. That's a lot of the dynamic between like me and my roommate, and even then managed to like make some great friends like in my dorm hall and just like in a few of the socials that we've had at school. It's really easy to make friends, unlike with San Diego where it's not like you can walk down and find parties on every corner. At SB, you kind of can just find parties at every corner on the weekends and stuff.
All right, next we're going to talk about the academic culture. So would you say that your professors are pretty welcoming and fair? Are you all like close with your professors normally? And how would you say your workload is? Is it easy, hard, super hard? Do you think it's fair?
So one thing to know about Berkeley is that it's semester. So that's what's kind of different about other UCs. I know Merced's also semester. So we do have 16 weeks with a dead week before finals where it's just reserved for studying and that sort of thing, which is one of the reasons why I picked it, because I feel like if you get behind, there's still an opportunity to catch up. And it is very easy to get behind in probably college classes in general, but like at UC Berkeley specifically. In terms of professors, I've pretty much loved all of my professors. There have been some where at first I didn't really understand them. I don't feel like we really vibed. But then like as the semester goes along, they start to recognize you, even in large classes. I think that professors who have large classes are able to adapt and learn how to like meet and interact with individual students, and they do recognize you. And I think that they're all pretty good. The ones that I've met, I've taken both upper div and like general ed classes. In terms of the workload, I stuck to the lower side of average. So I think like average is probably 13 units, which is maybe like 3 to 4 classes. And I did 3 to 4 classes. I didn't want to do like 5 or 6. I think that's a lot. And I wanted to have a social life and just kind of chill too. But I do think that on the syllabus, when it tells you the expected amount of work and like time you're going to put in, they're not kidding. If you actually expect to do well in your classes, I mean, of course you can always, you know, kind of get by and mess around, but it's important that if you take your academics really seriously and you want those good grades, you actually have to put in the work. And another thing about UC Berkeley is I think you do have to advocate for yourself in an academic setting. Like you do have to go to the tutoring centers, you do have to go to office hours. Like no one's really there to just be like, oh, did you understand this? Do you need help? Like no one's gonna ask you that. You're gonna have to like do it yourself, and you shouldn't be afraid to ask your peers. I've had so many nice people be willing to set aside time in a library or explain something really quickly or even more in depth, or if they couldn't do it, usually they would refer me to someone who could do it. So I think taking action in your community is also really beneficial in the academic part of it.
So one thing I really love about UC Davis, and it kind of was the reason I chose it, was that it doesn't have that super competitive vibe to it, like that cutthroat, you know, every man for himself kind of feel. Everyone is super willing to help each other out, including the professors. So all the professors I've had so far offer resources outside of class, and like are willing to go that extra mile to like help the students. And they're really concerned about like the students understanding the material. So they really put in the work for that. And the TAs I've had are also really cool. Hopefully it stays that way. I'm only a freshman right now. And in terms of the workload, it's okay. I've been taking 15 units every quarter. We're on quarter system. And I'm handling it okay. It just kind of depends on like how you balance your schedule out. Yeah.
Okay, so for UC Irvine, I think honestly it really just depends on like what you're majoring in. I could speak on my major, which is computer science, and it's hard, to be honest. It really is hard. Like progressively it gets harder as well. So I know for me, like my freshman year, it was like not as bad, but progressively it got harder. But I agree with what UC Berkeley said. You really do have to seek those opportunities and you have to seek help. That's one thing about UCI. They do offer tutoring for like most classes. We have something called LARC, which is tutoring for whatever class you need help in. So that's something that's definitely useful. As far as like professor goes, professors, I use Rate My Professor, to be honest, because sometimes you just don't know like what kind of professor you're gonna get. So Rate My Professor just kind of gives you insight as to what other people are thinking. So that's something that's helpful. Then again, it's like sometimes you will just have a bad professor. It just is what it is. But there also are really good professors out there. As far as workload, for me, it's just about managing my time. I feel like for me, coding, like sometimes I could just be coding for like a day straight and not get anywhere. So it's really about time management for me and just like, you know, figuring out when I can balance this into this and make time so that if I am stuck, I could seek help and, you know, do what I got to do. There is a nice community where like you can ask people for help. Nobody's really going at your throat and being like, you know, I'm not trying to help you because the curve, you know, nobody's really like that. So it's like, you know, you can ask people for help and you can seek help. So yeah.
At UCLA, it's a very interesting mix because like it like there are some like I'm a neuroscience major, so like being like kind of like on like the STEM side, it is very like being on the quarter system in STEM is just very fast paced. You know, you kind of just have to like be able to adapt and like, you know, roll with the punches as they go. Like in terms of professors, like yours a good mix because there's some professors that are there, you know, like solely to like finish the research project, and there's some professors that like really do like take the time and like care about their students. So like you have to navigate we have our own kind of like grading or like rating system called Broadwalk, where like all like classes and like reviews are posted. So like that's a really good resource that I like should have utilized more because like I've learned like even the easy A's might not be an easy A depending on like your professor and or TA, which, you know, like it's not really cutthroat overtly. Like there's like certain people like, you know, like no one's gonna like really like I guess like out you out if like they feel you're superior. Like everyone's pretty helpful, we're pretty nice. The only thing I will say it's kind of like a closet competitiveness. It's like, you know, like you'll just see people doing better and like, you know, kind of like motivates you. It could motivate you or it could discourage you just depending. And so like it's like people that are very competitive, but it's not like it's a in your face out to get you type of thing. It's just like it's just the nature of the students there. Like a lot of people are just competitive, so you kind of like have to adapt and like build yourself up.
UC Merced, I feel like it's very easy to get in contact with your teachers and stuff. I know some professors, like if they have the chance to offer you an opportunity in research, like they'll be there for you. I feel like workload, I feel like it just kind of depends on your major. I know some people that are like always kind of studying and like just always doing work, which I don't personally do because like business is not too much, but I think it just depends on your major. Office hours are always really helpful. I don't know if you guys heard, but like apparently one of the professors at my school, they did like while the quarantine was happening, he made like false accounts and stuff to like catch people cheating, which I was shocked because I'm in his class, and then I was just like, whoa, what? But it was kind of crazy. Huh?
He has a lot of spare time. Like, goodness.
I know. Everybody was shocked because I was like, the fact that he took time out of his day to like actually do that, it was just crazy.
For academic wise, we have something called ARC. So if you need any support academically, then you could sign up for tutor sessions, and upper division classes in your major or in that major that you need help in would help you in that class. I would say academic challenge wise, it is like any other four-year institution, as it's difficult, so you're gonna still have to, you know, try your best working, but at the same time the other kids in UCR aren't really, I wouldn't say they're like, you'd be shocked because when I went to UCR, obviously there weren't that many videos on YouTube explaining about how like rigorous the classes are or how studious the students are. So when I went there, I just typically thought that the students were like UC rejects, you know, and I just thought that. But when I went there, I realized that a lot of people there are actually smart. So if you don't want to go out of your way to get help on or like tutoring and stuff like that, then you could always just ask some of your friends in UCR. The students don't really study, like studying isn't their number one. Like obviously I'm not speaking for all of the students, like obviously there's some people that studying is their number one, but the people that I met, all of them wanted to party, have fun, join a sorority, and stuff like that. So I would say studying is always a keep in mind kind of thing, but they like to have fun as well.
I would say it's pretty fair. Like there's always going to be bad professors, always going to be good professors, like at any college. I would say for the most part, in my experience, I've had a little more of like bad professors in the sense of like they're a little like kind of standoffish. They're just there just to teach and to get out. It's never been too much where like I couldn't like pass a class. You know what I mean? There's every class is manageable. They never are, the workload is never like too much, and like there's always help, like office hours you can always go to. TAs help a lot, and that's like kind of the main thing I do to get most of my help and to help me pass my classes. And if you have like a bad professor, there's something called like CAPE evaluations at UCSD. You can just, you know, say what you want about them, make it known that they're a bad professor, if that's the case. But like, it's never too much. That's what I think. The workload is manageable, and you can always like, even if you have a bad professor, I think you could always find help somewhere to help you get through the class.
How is it at UC Santa Barbara?
So at UCSB, I feel like workload it falls somewhere around like average to maybe a little bit harder than usual, I feel like. It's, of course, there are like resources and stuff on campus, something called CLAS, where it's like you basically add like tutoring to your schedule. I don't really know too much how it works, but from what I've heard, it's pretty helpful. And we also rely a lot on Rate My Professor, just because a lot of professors, or at least in my experience, a lot of the professors and the TAs there are really helpful, and they're really engaging. I've had some of like my most engaging, like the best classes of my life, but it's like at the same time, there's some professors who have to teach like a really niche part, or like a really niche class that it's not necessarily their like speciality or whatever. And so it really also just does depend on what professor you get. But there are some really nice places to study. You can study in the library, or you can try to even study on the beach. The nearby community college town of Isla Vista has some pretty nice spots to study at too. What you're gonna hear a lot, or what a lot of people talk about, is about, you know, working hard and partying hard, because people go in with that sort of expectation of UCSB being a party school. But we also put in like the work, right? And so, yeah, we party hard, but it's because we put in enough work that we deserve to party hard.
Okay, that's good to hear. So next we're going to talk about the housing situation at your school.
Housing at UC Merced, obviously, like, it's really, really new. So everything is pretty new, and I would say they're pretty spacious as well. For the most part, I would say they're all pretty spacious. I think most people do stay at the dorms, like if you're like a first year or second year, because they do require 2 years. But for the most part, I would say if you're going to UC Merced, you'll most likely end up dorming, because it's like in the Central Valley and not a lot of people are from there. So I would say they do end up staying on campus, but a lot of people do commute, and they seem to like not mind it, I guess.
What about at UC Irvine?
Okay, so for UC Irvine, for freshmen, typically there's 2 housing communities. We have Middle Earth and we have Mesa Court. So that's typically where the freshmen stay. And we have other communities for, you know, other years, but typically people usually stay on campus because the way it's set up, I'm gonna be real with y'all, the way it's set up, it's like most convenient for you to stay on campus, because let's say like you try and stay somewhere else, you have to park at UCI. You have to like figure out how you're gonna, you know, drive and park at UCI, and parking is pretty expensive. Like it's like $130 a month, so it's pretty expensive. And I don't know how it is at other schools, but just having that is just convenient. And then it's like traffic on top of that, so it's just convenient to just stay on campus and try and navigate your way while you're still dorming on campus. But for me, my freshman year, I stayed in a place called the Black Scholars House, which is in Arroyo Vista, another community. And that was a pretty good experience for me, because I was just pretty much surrounded by Black people who look like me. So I really enjoyed that a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much, as far as like housing goes, that's pretty much what it is. It's just different communities that, you know, people stay at throughout the 4 years, unless you're like a commuter. So yeah.
Okay. How is it at UC Santa Barbara?
Pretty expensive. I think that's like a pretty common theme, whether you're living on or off campus, just because Central Coast and like Santa Barbara area is expensive as it is. So I think about like half of my first year went to like housing and like dining and like auxiliary enterprises and stuff. And so that was a pretty big portion of what I was paying was going towards housing. And then for my second year, this upcoming next year, we found an apartment. But even then, we have like, it's 5 people to an apartment and we're each paying like $500 a month in rent. So it's like not cheap. But I will say that it's pretty nice to live both on and off campus.
Okay, how is housing at UC Berkeley?
Okay, so in terms of dorms, I stayed in like Unit 3, which is like, if dorms are ranked universally, Unit 3 is like the bottom. I think it's kind of similar to what you were describing, like FT. I feel like that's kind of the vibe. I was really upset when I got Unit 3. It is like a lottery system. It doesn't really matter like when you apply for housing, you just get what you get. But I actually am really glad that I ended up living there. I lived in a triple. It was really small. I figured it out. But housing at Berkeley is really expensive, whether you live in the dorm or whether you live in an apartment. You can expect to pay, I think the average is around $1,000, and that's like in a double in an apartment. That's why I actually decided to rush a sorority, because it was actually going to be $2,000 cheaper to live in a sorority than to live in a Unit 3 dorm. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And that includes like my food, includes like my wash and dryer and all that stuff, which is not included, like washing and stuff is not included in dorms. But for people who opt to live off campus and get apartments, it's very competitive around, you know, like COVID kind of messed it up for people, but there's like open houses and people are trying to pitch why like their offer should be accepted, and that's like they do background checks. It's actually kind of intense. I'm really glad I'm not in that position. And Bay Area housing is a problem. That's why we have grad student strikes. Cost of living is ridiculous, and I think that's just something to note when you decide to go to a school on the coast. I mean, it's pretty cheap to live in a frat, so if you're a dude, that's might be an ideal thing to consider too. Oh, and housing is not guaranteed for first years, at least when I was applying. I know they were building 2 new complexes. I don't know how that's looking with COVID and all that stuff, but I did have some friends who were in temporary housing who were just rejected altogether. People were living in like common spaces. We didn't have lounges on every floor like we were supposed to. They took out like laundry rooms on floors and converted them into rooms. So that's like a Bay Area problem in general, but it's just something to note.
So at Davis, there are 3 living areas. It's Tercero, Segundo, and Cuarto. And so at Davis, there are 3 living areas, Tercero, Segundo, and Cuarto. And each area also has their own dining commons, which is cool. I lived in a triple at Tercero, and it was honestly a really great experience. The buildings are really spacious and always clean. The room itself was spacious as well. Like I never found that it was cramped or anything, even though I lived with 2 other people. Each building has its own like common study area on each floor. And a kitchen area, so that was cool. People typically live in the dorms their freshman year, and I know some people who stay for their sophomore year, but usually people go apartment hunting their sophomore year. And like Berkeley, it's competitive, but at the same time, there's a lot of apartment complexes in Davis, so it's pretty much guaranteed that you're going to find one eventually.
Yeah, I commute, but I have like a lot of friends that are in that dorm, or I just like chill in dorms like of my friends and apartments. But basically, so the college is divided into 6 colleges, and that's kind of like how you're admitted into a college, and you get your GEs based on that, and your like where you live is based off that. And it's kind of different for each college. I would say like ERC, which is Eleanor Roosevelt College, is like the nicest one. And everything else is kind of like the same. And also all the dorms are not like typical dorms in the sense of like they're like kind of suite style. So like, you know, there's like single, double, triple rooms, and then they're all like surrounding a common area with like a lounge and a bathroom. And that's kind of like how it is for all the dorms there. And I would say like overall the dorms aren't that great. They're whatever, but like everyone always stays in a dorm like their first year. And then after that you go on apartments, and the apartments are mostly on campus, but there's like a couple that are like a little off campus, but you can take like a shuttle there and back campus. And then obviously you can live in the apartments in like La Jolla, which are like really expensive, but like, I mean, if you got the money for that, then you can do that.
Okay, cool. What about at UCR?
Okay, so I explain it more in detail in my YouTube channel, but now that I'm a second year, I like slowly forgot some of the details, but I do remember that there are 3 dorm lives. So there's AI, Lothian, and Pentland in your first year. So it changes once you go second year, but your first year, you get to choose between those 3. And then I believe the common saying for these 3 is that AI, you're like social and you're outgoing, and like studying isn't like in your life and in your definition. And then Lothian, I didn't hear much about Lothian, but I know that Pentland was for like the quiet people, the rich people, the ones who want to study, the med students, like those kind of. Oh, and all of them have like a dining where you could eat and stuff like that because they're dorm lives. And for first years, you're guaranteed dorming, I believe. But UCR just has a high percentage of commuters. And then once you go to second year, third year, fourth year, you have Glenmore, Stonehaven, and I believe it's called Watkins or something like that. But yeah, those 3 are like campus apartments. I believe it's really hard to get them because it's so competitive. But yeah, I think there's like a day that you apply for it and then you either get in or not. And I did hear that it's easier to get in if you apply as a single than like having like a whole group already established.
UCLA is like right smack dab between like Beverly Hills, Brentwood, and like Bel Air. So it's like you're like 10 minutes away from Beyonce's house and Dan Bilzerian's house. I've seen both. So it's like, it's expensive. Like no matter what you do, like dorm life, apartment life, it's very expensive. And so like in terms of dorm life, I think I saw like 97% of like freshmen stay on campus, like on dorms their first year. Pretty much everyone stays on campus their first year. So like that's kind of like just like an expected thing to do. You get what you pay for. I will say that because like the way it works is like you have classics, deluxes, plazas, and suites. So a classic is like just like straight up like room. You have your beds, bunk beds, no AC, hot, just cramped, just locked in one place. Then you have like deluxes, which is like, you know, you're spaced out, you know, there's more space. You have an air conditioner, like still kind of the same setup. Then you have plazas. Like plazas, you have like a lot more room, like, you know, dedicated closet areas, like, you know, either private bathroom or shared bathroom or a suite, which is what I did. Which is more like apartment style, because like you get like an entire like living group or living area, like with the couch and like 2 chairs and like whatnot, like separate from the actual like your sleeping like arrangements. And so like, you know, like with everyone you pay more. UCLA is a very populated like school with not that much housing, so like you get like there's 3 years guaranteed, which is pretty cool. But I will say it's very competitive to get things. So like when you get your, like once the housing portal opens, like if you don't have like your group and you're not ready, like you will like get like the leftovers and you might not be happy with where you live.
Okay, enough about housing. Let's talk about the real reason people go to college, which is parties. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, just describe like the party culture at your school. So is it more so just, oh, parties are mainly just frats, like everyone just goes to the frats for parties? Or, you know, do y'all have parties in the dorms? Are there apartment parties, house parties? Is your school dead? Crickets, there's no type of party scene? Like, what is up?
Okay, so I've only been to a couple parties, so I'm not too familiar with like the whole party culture. But from my experience, the ones I've been to are pretty fun. Like people think Davis doesn't have parties because it's like in the middle of nowhere, which is kind of true. But the party culture is like, there's actually a party culture, especially like during the long weekends and holidays. Frats love to throw parties and stuff. One thing I was surprised by was that I thought it would be a lot easier to find parties to go to, but I realized that you kind of have to know people if you want to party often. And another thing I was surprised by was that some parties are like exclusive, like you either have to know someone in the frat house or you have to be on like a list, or yeah, it's kind of, so that was kind of annoying. But if you don't want to deal with that, Greek life is where it's at. And Davis has a pretty lively Greek life. And yeah, I would say the parties are mainly in the Greek life. Like you can't just like stumble upon a party. Like, but the app Wildfire, if anyone knows what that is, like people like to post like, oh, like there's a party tonight at whatever address. Like, yeah.
So what about at UC Merced?
Well, people call Merced Merded, and they're not wrong. There's parties, but when there is parties, they usually get shut down like kind of quick. So usually what people do is they just like party in their dorm, which is what I would do. So you can get away with it as long as like you don't live kind of near the RAs. But there is parties, like every once like there's parties. I wouldn't say they're that great.
Okay. What about at UCR?
The one sad thing is that the sororities and the fraternities can't have houses, because apparently there's this thing in Riverside where like the same gender sex can't have more than 6 people in one house or something like that. So I wanted to join a sorority forever in my life. I swear. Like, you know those movies like Gilmore Girls and stuff like that, it amps up like you wanting to join a sorority, but like it doesn't have sorority houses. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to join a sorority if they don't have houses. Well, that was my initial thought. And then, so I've been to literally every party that UCR has in my freshman year of college. Okay, like that's not anything to brag, but I mean, like I literally went to all of them, and I will just say that I wish they had fraternity or like sorority houses. They do, some of them do, and let me just say they are great because like they have a good portion of alcohol, juice. They have like a good portion of juice that like everyone could just get. It tends to be like, it's like UC Davis where you need to know someone to get in, but usually if you're a girl and you choose the right outfits and the right friends, you could just kind of, slip in. I mean, it's not just UCR. It's like every school, right? We're like that too. Majority of the parties in UCR are house parties though. So it's like skateboard club or like snowboarding club. Or one thing I will say is they have black community clubs throw parties too, and they know how to party too. So you just have to choose the right community and like what like party they do, and then you just like join. But I would say it's like UC Davis where either you know someone to know where the party's at or like you just slip in.
Okay, so I'm gonna be careful not to name any organizations, throw anyone under the rug, but yeah, like she was saying, like clubs and organizations, like you don't have to be in Greek life, and I'll get to Greek life in a second. Like most of them have houses where like a bunch of them like live together and they'll throw, and those are really fun. They're more like, I'd say they're more like kickbacks, like more like lots of like games and stuff and music, and it's fun, but it's not like dark and like musty or anything. And like usually if you're there, like people, like usually like people don't just show up trying to get in. Like those ones like are more chill. And then like I said, I'm in a sorority, and we do have like a Greek row or like a frat row. And Berkeley has like 13 sororities and like 26 frats or something like that. And like there's always like top frats that like throw often, but sororities they never throw. Like we're not allowed to do that. We love our houses too much for that. But frats, like we do have, they do have to get like fire permits, and UCPD is always like making sure that the right frats are throwing on nights that they have the permits to do so. And they're pretty strict on the types of juice that are there. Should not be anything like hardcore. So if you're trying to do that, you need to do that before you go, or bring your own. And Another thing is like we do have a bid system, so it's like little bracelets, and they do give them out to sororities and they do give them out to different frats, and like you kind of have to have this bracelet like a ticket to get in, and that's just how like Berkeley Greek Life tries to make sure that people who are there are supposed to be there, and like it's a safe environment. And if you can get a bid, then it just means that someone vouched for you to like that you're not like some random person who doesn't even go to Berkeley or something like that. And then if you don't have a bid, like it's not necessarily that you can't go, it's just that if they think that you're sus, you might not get in. But another thing is that sometimes athletes throw parties. They have like athlete houses, and like those are pretty fun. And then there's been times where like athletes will take over a frat and host, and those ones are like the best, but they're few and far between. No one's really talked about it, but like game days are like big at Berkeley, so rip COVID, like I don't know how that's gonna go. Thursday nights, Friday nights, and like Saturday nights, depending on the weekend, are cool, but it's like game days, like those are like where it's at. Like I think I've only been to one party that was more fun than a game day, so that's just also something to keep in mind. I don't know how party culture is going to be in the future if we don't have game days, so yeah.
You see, like party culture is it's pretty cool. It's been a lot like different lately because like my freshman year there was like a allegation, and like that caused like all of like the parties to be on like a blackout, like no party list. So like all the parties that were thrown were just shut down within like 25 minutes. But then like over time it's changed. So like, you know, there's some parties that will just go up and like you're just jumping, and there's like just extremely ratchet. Like there's like frat parties. Frat parties are kind of like the same thing with the bid system. You kind of have to know somebody, and like, you know, for some of them, like some of them are like pretty open, but like it's like for the majority, like you have to kind of know someone. Like, and then like you have people like who like throw like there's apartment parties. Like if you own an apartment, you just want to throw a party. Like I've been to some of the, like there's some good apartment parties. Some are good, some get shut down really fast, some are just small because like Westwood's a very like compact area. So like if you do find a good one, like it might get packed out really fast, or because like there's just a lot of people trying to get into one area.
Were you at the one where like the floor like was like sinking?
Oh yeah, no, we did. I do, yeah. I've thrown a lot of parties, so it's like you'll find a place to party. I've thrown parties in dorms. I've thrown parties like in apartments, or parties like all over there. We threw a party at like a frat house, Crows-U. But besides that, like the party life is like, it's like sometimes like a lot of it's like hit or miss. Like there'll be like parties that are just amazing, like epic, just best night of your life. And there's some parties like, why did I spend $5 and put on this outfit to come here and have it get shut down in 15 minutes while it's like a hot, sweaty, you know, jungle. And then like, you know, so it's like hit or miss. But the thing like I really appreciate is just like you're in LA, so like there's always something to do in LA. So like whenever like I don't like the party scene's like pretty sad, I just hop in an Uber and go do some crazy stuff, like God knows where in LA. So
kind of like UC Merced. They said it's like UC Merced, UC socially dead. And that's kind of true, but like not really. But like if you like go to UCSD and it's like a weekend and you walk around, you're not gonna find a party like that. You're not gonna find one. Like I went to SDSU on like some weekends, and like every weekend, like literally everyone's just walking around in like their party shit and like, or shiz, sorry. And it looks like they're just like about to go to a party like right there, apartment right there, like everywhere. And it's not like that at UCSD. Definitely you gotta like know people, like you gotta join clubs, you gotta do Greek life, and then you will find a party. And thing is like there's like no parties on campus because there's like no like frat housing on campus, and there's like it's like people don't really throw apartments, or they don't throw parties at apartments on campus for whatever reason. I guess they get shut down easily. But like all the parties I've been to have been off campus, and they're just like around San Diego because like the frat houses are really random. Like literally where I live, like I play basketball at this park, right? And then I found out there's like a frat house like right next to it, and I was like, oh, like damn, that's cool. And but the parties are good if you find party, they're good. But I would recommend if you really want to party, join a club or just join Greek life, basically.
And we are curious about the party school, Santa Barbara. So how's the party culture?
I think it's pretty vibrant, and a lot of people, they have like these like preconceived like notions about the SB like party life. Ironically, it's really hard to throw a party like at a dorm. The party scene isn't like on campus or on any of the like campus housing. It's all in Isla Vista, and since Ivy is just students, that's where like it's gonna be really easy to find a party. On the weekends, Ivy is just kind of like it lights up. if you walk down like DP, which is like the road that's like right off of the coast, basically, like or like right next to the ocean, every weekend there is just like a huge crowd of people just walking around. And with that, it's just like every type of party lives at Santa Barbara. And so it's like, yeah, you have frat parties and you have frat houses in SB, but they don't make up like the majority of the parties over here, because a lot of people actually just don't like the frats anyways. So yeah, there are frat parties, and like I think it's like the same thing. You either got to know someone or you kind of just have to like slip in or whatever. But there's like a, there can be a party just like across the street saying, you know, F frats, and they're just letting anyone in. And so there really is just every type of party. I think most of the ones that I've seen and the ones that I've been to, you kind of just have to know someone, or you just have to be a part of an organization. That's the same thing. It's like if you join a club or like some organization, somebody is going to throw a party in that club. And so if you want to start going to parties, an easy way is to just join something too, right? You don't have to join a frat. They don't make up the majority of the parties here. But you can probably get some luck if you just walk down like the road in IV and you just like kind of find a crowd and you just kind of blend in and you mesh in. You could probably find your way into a party pretty easily. And I think one of the like best parts about party culture is that IV knows how to take care of you. And so since it's just like 1 square mile of just students, it's a lot of people looking out for each other. And you can just kind of just rush into a house that has like an open door and just be like, hey, my friend needs water over here. Can you please help us out? People are willing to oblige. And if you get near campus, there's like a whole lot of restaurants that open, like they're open really, really late. And a pretty like big part of it too is that we do have like foot patrol, but they're not like cops. They're not trying to like catch you. Not a lot of times they're not trying to like arrest you. Most of the time people are just trying to make sure you're safe. And so they set up like water stations and stuff where it's like you can just get free water if you need
They
to, like,
have water stations outside the parties.
not like outside the parties, but at like some parks and stuff, they put up like a little tent and it's like foot patrol, and they have like water coolers and stuff, and you can just get water there too. It's pretty vibrant. You don't have to join a frat or a sorority if you want to get involved in party culture.
How are the parties at UC Irvine?
So UC Irvine is like the complete opposite. Like parties are whack at UC Irvine. Like pretty much like you guys all said, if you're really like a heavy partier and you're looking forward to that stuff, then your best bet is definitely to join like a fraternity or sorority. But other than that, there's not going to be like parties weekly or anything like that. And but it is like sort of like what you make of it. Like if you know people and you have connections, then you know whoever's like throwing a party like in an apartment, then you might have the opportunity to just, you know, go ahead and try and go to that party. But like with fraternities and sororities, it's like it's really exclusive. So it's like you kind of have to be in, like you could try and slip in, but that's most likely not going to work. Like especially if you're like a guy, the guy to girl ratio is always off. So it's like too many guys, it's not going to work out. You know what I'm saying? So it really is just kind of like, you know, if you have friends, then you can throw something or have fun. But other than that, it's whack at UCI.
And we're gonna end the panel off with this question, which is, what is something about your school that you wish you knew before going there?
I guess something that I wish I knew before I came to UC Berkeley was that it was completely different than my expectations. So I think I went in thinking like, oh, everyone's like super like smart and they just have it super together, and like imposter syndrome is very real, and like people are very much just like you. That's how they got in, that's how you got in, they got in, you got in. And it's important not to like prejudge anyone. There's too many cultures and there's too many different types of people and too many classes, too many backgrounds for you to do that. But it's super easy to do that when you're going into college, and that might not just be Berkeley in general. But I think that's important to remember that, because no one really told me that, and maybe I just wasn't listening, but I would like to put that out there.
I came in to UC Davis not knowing a lot about the school, but a lot of people say, like, is it boring because it's an agricultural school and it's in the middle of nowhere? That's a misconception. It is definitely a college town, but there's a lot to do, and at least for me, I haven't gotten bored of it yet. So I would just say, like, don't judge it because, like, it's known as the agricultural UC, you know? Also, it doesn't smell like cow all the time. I get that question a lot. And this is kind of a general thing, but before college, I was kind of nervous about making friends and like finding my people. But I would just advise you to like put yourself out there and like not be afraid to talk to people, because really everyone in college is just trying to find friends, you know? So, and people at Davis are super friendly, so it shouldn't be too hard.
So I actually really like UC Irvine as a whole. Like with everything, I feel like UC Irvine like has a lot of cool things to it that mainly people don't really like look into, or they don't really like pay attention to. Like for example, we have a shuttle system, which we have different lines on our campus. So we have an app called Rider, and you can download that and see like where's the nearest shuttle to you to take you to a different spot on campus or back to your housing community. So it's actually super useful, and that's something that I'm pretty sure like a lot of people don't really know. I didn't know going in that we had that. I just kind of figured it out like as I got there, obviously, but just little stuff like that. And I just really like UCI because it's like all of the classes like are built in a circle. So we have like Aldrich Park, and then we have like all of the classes and the buildings around it. So it's like you'll go to class and you'll most likely see somebody you know, and it's built to where it's like you're gonna find your community, and you're gonna sort of feel like at home the more you start navigating your way on campus and just start doing your thing. So that's just something about it.
In terms of like UCLA specific, I'd say like have like say like you're gonna spend a lot on Uber, so just like a budget for that, because like if you want to do anything like an Uber like 5 miles away in LA traffic will cost you like $20-$30, so it's just like you just have to like be able to budget for that. But in terms of just like the school or like just like college in general, I just feel like advocating, because like, you know, I just feel like it's like at any school is like there's so many resources just like set there, but like you kind of have to like find them. Like the best way to do that is just to advocate, talk to people. Like conversation goes a long way. It's like a lot of times like you get into the college, like there is imposter syndrome. You're like, oh, like there's a lot of resources that you will come across that will greatly make your life a lot easier.
After being there for a year, like you get to meet new people and just like be part of a community. There's also a lot of resources, like Nate said. There's also a lot of resources like the writing center, there's tutoring, there's like a mentor program. So you just have to like put yourself out there, and people are really friendly, so like you'll get an answer. There's also like a lake right by UC Merced, which I didn't know about, but it's really nice to go there and like watch the sunset or whatever. Also, as freshmen, like you obviously will not likely have a car there, so the shuttle, like they have a shuttle and it goes around Merced, so you can go out to eat with your friends and stuff. So it's not bad how people like make it out to be. It's like a really good experience.
And Gina, what's something that you wish you knew about UCR before going there?
This is kind of tough because I knew pretty much a lot before going there. But I would say one thing is I wish I knew that UCR was known for UC rejects. I didn't know that, but a lot of people within UCR kind of say that around our school. So it's not, I feel like it's not something that like other schools say. It's more like something that our school says to one another. So I wish like, or just before going there, I wish I knew that. So like I could kind of help people there kind of remind one another that we shouldn't be referring to one another as rejects, and more like we chose this school, so we should be proud of it. Certainly me transferring to another school isn't related in any way, shape, or form about this UC reject thing. It's just me personally. But I wish I knew that. I know a lot of, like I said before, there's a lot of commuters in our school. So one thing that I know that a lot of commuters wish they knew beforehand was that don't commute. A lot of commuter friends that I have, they told me that they wish they dormed just because of the experience and having that college life, which I 100% stand for as well. If you want to commute to save money, that's understandable. That's totally agreeable, but a lot of the friends that I have that commute said that even though it costed a little more, they would have gone for it, seeing how much they missed. So that should be something that commuters should keep in mind before agreeing to commute. Not saying commuting is anything bad though, I'm just saying.
I wish I knew about like how big the campus was. The campus is huge. It's like probably one of the biggest campuses like in the US, honestly. It's a lot of walking, but honestly, it's good exercise. But the thing is, there's a lot of things to do on campus, but there's even more stuff to do like off campus. San Diego, there's so much, like the beaches, obviously the food places, like amusement parks, all that. There's so many cool things to do. Another thing is like I already talked about the UC socially dead. Like that's not that true. Try and I, which is like, since like you go to UCSD, there's like a lot of bad looking people, so your standards get lower. That's not true at all. There's a lot of good looking people there, so I wouldn't agree with that. Yeah, it's really just what you make of it, honestly. Like I think with most colleges too, like there's always resources to succeed in school and to make new friends and to like just have a good time, and it's just what you make of it.
Okay, and Daniel, what's something that you wish you knew about UCSB before going?
I guess I wish I knew like how diverse. And when I say diverse, I'm not talking about like racial or like ethnic diversity, because I feel like a lot of colleges have that. I'm talking about like the stereotype of like the UCSB like beach bum. There's so many different types of people at UCSB. Yeah, I guess it's like I wish I had like known before coming in that it was gonna be a lot different than like the expectation of like just chilling at the beach and all that stuff.
Okay, well, thank you all for sticking out. I know this video was pretty long, but thanks for sharing this, guys. I think it's really going to help like a lot of people.